Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, this? Nah, don't worry yourself about that. You don't want to know. Alright, I'll tell you. So you remember how last time we played Diablo 2 I used Thorns to get all the way to Diablo? Turns out, Thorns is actually garbage in comparison to the other Paladin auras. Not only do they hit every enemy in a radius, but they do even more damage than Thorns does. Not only did this make it possible to kill all those annoying mages and ranged units that gave us trouble last time, but it let me just pump points into health and armor and ignore literally everything in the game. And you know what? It was so boring. So instead, we're gonna go back to our roots and learn yet another lesson from the Firebomb Academy. Today, we're gonna find out. Can you beat Diablo 2 with just firebombs? So first things first, what are we talking about? Well, I'm sure you knew already, but Diablo 2 has throwable consumables, and a good number of those consumables are explosives. Huh, that's a lot of negativity in the chat there. And I hear ya, you're worried about the fire immune enemies that we'll be fighting throughout the game. But you've forgotten. There are also some explosives that explode into poison damage. And while a few first-year students might say that they don't fall under the moniker of firebomb, true scholars know that status-causing explosives are just a firebomb by another name.
Did somebody say integrated ad?
What? No. Why would anyone say that?
Well then have I got an exciting 90-ish seconds for you.
Oh God, please no.
A big thank you to today's sponsor, Phantom Blade Executioners. Phantom Blade is a fast-paced 2D ARPG from China that is finally, after 15 years, getting a worldwide release. Containing a mixture of kung fu and cyberpunk, explore a beautifully drawn recreation of ancient China, hacking and slashing your way through boatloads of missions while assisting a wide cast of characters. Solaire, is that you? Uncover the dark secrets of Sha-Chi Mod, a grotesque body modification technique that gives people superhuman combat powers at the cost of their sanity. You can pick one of several characters, ranging from a samurai with the power to set his foes on fire, to a tiny lady who can literally summon God to punch out her enemies. You can customize your combos, upgrade your gear, upgrade your skills, and find phantoms who will give your attacks even further benefits, or even sometimes summon in to help you with your fights. Personally, I enjoyed the fact that the game allows me to micromanage every aspect of my character if I want to, but also gives me the option to just let the game auto-pick things for me if I'm only interested in the macro play. Now, there are microtransactions, but they never felt forced on me. There's no PvP aspect, so pay to win isn't a thing, and the only items that you can't unlock in-game are skins, which have no impact on your gameplay. To prove this point, I played several maps on the hardest difficulty without any gear or skills, removing my ability to use combos or phantoms. And while you have to hack and slash the enemies a bit longer, even the hardest difficulty levels are completely doable with zero gear if you master the dodge and parry system. So while the game may be challenging at times, patience and skill will always win out the day. If you want to play it on the go, the game is available on Android or iOS. But if you're like me and have big old grippers that start to cramp when trying to play games on your phone, the game is also available on PC and will be launching on PS5 and Xbox Series X early next year. So if you're ready to dive into some Kung Fu Punk gameplay, you can download Phantom Blade Executioners today using my link in the description below. Now, where did I put my phone?
You already threw it at me.
Oh. That's okay. I've got burner phones.
Wait. So, after about 20 minutes of running around the first area and resetting the chests over and over again, we've got our first firebombs, fulminating potions, which do between 5 and 15 damage. Not too shabby. We've also found some strangling potions, which do a straight 24 damage. I'm a big fan of weapons that ignore damage ranges and just give me a set amount of damage every time, but unfortunately, we need to reach level 6 before we can use those. Pity that. But with fulminating potions in hand, we can finally begin the run. We've only got 25, so we'll need to make them count. Thankfully, they have a little bit of a radius, so one potion can take out more than one enemy at a time. And after throwing about 20 potions, we've unlocked our first and most important level up of the entire run. First things first, we dump every single point into energy so that we can have a larger mana pool, and then we move on over to the trap tab in our skill tree, where we can find the only skill we'll ever need, Fire Blast. Why? Because using Fire Blast allows us to, and I quote, throw a firebomb to blast your enemies to bits. Now, it's not great. The radius is 3.3 yards, and the damage is only 3 to 4 fire damage at the hefty price of 3 mana each. But it does receive damage boosts from most of the other skills around it, so that's something at least. As far as using it goes, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Throw a bomb explodes, enemy dies, get XP. The only problem is our mana pool. It's incredibly small at the moment, and we can only throw about 10 firebombs before we run out of go-go juice. The assassin does regenerate mana over time, but it's pretty abysmal, so it's not exactly something we can count on. So, while my assassin clears the Den of Evil, let's make a game plan. As far as consumable items go, no shop will ever sell you them, so you only have what you can find out in the wild. However, if you save the last potion, you can sell it to a vendor, then buy it back. Doing this will get you a full stack of whatever potion you just sold. The only problem is that it's really freaking expensive. We're talking thousands of gold sometimes, which at this stage of the game is way above my pay grade. So, rather than scrounge together thousands of gold for 25 grenades, I think it's better that we focus on our firebomb skill instead. Which brings us back to the problem of mana. We could play the patience elemental game and simply throw as many firebombs as possible, run away until our mana regenerates, then do it all over again, but that sounds tedious as hell, even for me. No, unfortunately, Akara has us by the gems. Until further notice, we're gonna have to stock up on mana potions, and use them whenever we run low on mana. It's not financially efficient, but you gotta do what you gotta do. With the Den of Evil cleared, we return to Akara and sell her all the useless garbage I found in the cave, then fill up our pockets with mana pots. After that, it's on to the Cold Plains, where we receive a warm welcome. The nice thing about Diablo 2 is that enemies have a tendency to drop lots of potions right when you need them. So while we'll still have to make our way back to Akara every now and again, at least it won't be constant. And would you look at that, another level. I get Fire Blast up to level 4, which is great, but there's a slight problem. Our fire damage is increasing, but so is our mana cost. And contrary to popular belief, a better bomb does not always mean a bigger bomb. Our radius hasn't increased at all, and never will. I put all my stat points into energy again, which gets me another 9 mana, then make my way to the burial grounds. We ignored this area last time, since the boss here only had ranged attacks, but I think it's time we got a little revenge, don't you? Hello, Bloodraven. Long time no see. Raven here is very quick and very annoying to fight, but carpeting the entire area in firebombs seems to be working well enough. Fun fact, Bloodraven is actually one of the original playable characters from Diablo 1. She's certainly fallen from grace though. It only takes a few firebombs to get the job done and take her out for good. I clear the rest of the tombs in the area for the extra experience and loot, none of which is overly helpful for my build, then push my way through the underground passage. My firebomb skill is up to level 8, and the damage seems to be keeping up with the enemies of the area for now, so no reason to get worried about that just yet. My mana is also up to 78, so our thirst for mana pots is starting to slow down as well. Oh hey, a buckler. Kinda weird that it took this long for one to drop, but this character is super squishy, and I'll take whatever help I can get. I make my way out of the passage and into the dark woods, where it's more of the same. Level up, increase damage, increase mana, repeat. Nothing really to see here if I'm being honest. However, there was one part that gave me trouble. Woodfist and his gang of burly beasts. They hit like absolute units, and move way too fast for me to line up my shots safely. Thankfully, we've got a backup plan for just such the occasion. Now that we're past level 6, I can throw my poison pots. And unlike firebombs, the poison pots leave a cloud of poison wherever they're thrown, which means one pot is enough to poison several enemies, all of which will take 24 damage no matter how quickly they step out of the gas cloud. So while it got a little hairy for a minute there, the Firebomb Academy once again emerges victorious. I find the tree that contains the Scroll of Inifis, do a little more leveling just to keep up appearances, and somewhere amongst all the explosions, I found a triumphant Qatar. Everything about this weapon is useless to me, since we can't actually stab things with it, but there's one thing worth noting. +1 mana after each kill. I've made sure I won't be stabbing anything on accident by removing the melee attack option, but as you can see here, when I kill an enemy, bam, instant mana recovery. Combine this with a couple other mana regeneration pieces I've found in my travels, and our mana pool is starting to look pretty healthy. It's not perfect. Between firebombs being a bit hard to aim in Diablo 2, and the fact that some enemies take more than one firebomb to kill, it's still a net loss as far as mana is concerned. But Akara's grip on us is certainly weaker than it was before, and if we can keep finding mana regen gear, we might be able to ignore her entirely in the future. I find the Forgotten Tower, prove that ghosts can in fact be killed with fire, have a quick chuckle about the randomly generated names this game comes up with, and bump into the Countess. And wouldn't you know it, she's fire enchanted. Great. When a boss is enchanted with a particular element, it means they resist the damage. It's not outright immunity, but it might as well be sometimes. Thank God for strangling potions, am I right? Wow, that took like 4 pots. Was that supposed to be a boss? Oh, hey, runes. Are these good? These are probably good. You know, I should probably say this now. If you're screaming at your screen right now because I'm not doing Countess runs to try and get the stealth rune word, or because I haven't optimized my stats so that I can wear their perfect armor for a build later in the run, hello, welcome to the Backlogs. You must be new here. I appreciate your enthusiasm about your favorite game, but if you're gonna stick around, you should probably know that I'm not gonna read the 5-paragraph essay you just left down in the comments about how to play the game properly. Beating normal difficulty counts as beating the game. Not knowing how to make rune words is perfectly acceptable because the game never teaches you how to do it in game. And even Mr. Llama himself commented on the last video to discredit everyone who kept claiming you could drag Lord Desace out of Diablo's arena to start the fight. Don't get me wrong, I respect your opinions, but you've all been fighting Diablo for so long that you've forgotten the most important part of the video game. It's about the journey, not the destination. So stay a while and listen. You might just have fun. But also go ahead and put a toxic comment down below, because comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. I take a minute to do some shopping, where I find a helmet that gives me another Firebombs worth of energy, then find a gem shrine. The way these work is that they'll upgrade a random gem in your inventory to its next rarity. If you want a specific gem upgraded, you can actually game this by only having one gem in your bag. And considering the only gem I want to increase right now is my skull, which regenerates mana and life at the same time, it's a no-brainer. Oh my god, I just noticed that pun. That wasn't even intentional. Am I okay? I find the Cairn stones, completely disregard Akar's instructions, and just start touching all the stones in a random order, and level up one more time before entering Tristram. Oh hey, it's Griswold. Well, what can I do for you? God, I want to play Diablo 1 so bad. I save Deckard Cain from his eternal boredom, then do a little more grinding in the Black Marsh. From downtown! But with another level or two under my belt, it's probably time we push forward. I enter the outer cloister, struggle my way through the barracks, then get to work killing the smith. My firebombs do plenty of damage to him, but he hits a bit too hard for my liking. Eventually, I decided that the hit and run approach was the right way to go about it, and just threw down some poison pots while valiantly running away. It's a legitimate strategy, shut up. I keep pushing my way along, and eventually unlocked lucky level 13 for my firebombs, giving them 33 to 49 fire damage per toss, which is more than enough to take out most of the enemies that I come across. And before you can say this holy place has been desecrated, we're outside of Andariel's arena. I set up a safety portal, because you never know, then begin the slow but effective task of killing all the enemies in her arena before engaging her directly. And then, it's time for Andy herself. I think we may have overleveled a bit. She's not exactly putting up much of a fight, and seems to be having a hard time hitting me. Which means after only a handful of firebombs later, she's dead on the ground. I do like the way her spider legs curl up though. That's a nice touch. Alright, let's see what we got. Useless, useless, and useless. Oh wait, no, that's actually really good. Well, at least the fight wasn't a complete disappointment. On to Act 2. Ah, the desert, where 99% of my runs come to die. The game tends to ramp up difficulty in this act, with enemies getting much more health and hitting a lot harder. And this run is proving to be no different. Why is Radamant stronger than Andariel, I ask you? Well, while some enemies now take several firebombs to kill, at least that's not true of all of them. And hey, would you look at that? Act 2 means better fire and poison pots. Don't mind if I do. That said, it's probably best if we do some more grinding. This build is kinda garbage if you aren't overpowering your enemies from long range, so any boost to health, armor, or damage is always welcome. I collect the Heredric Cube for a sweet 12 more slots, swap out my old poison pots for new and improved ones, which do 72 damage now, give Beetle Burst a complimentary firebomb on the house, then begin the long and tedious road through the Maggot Lair. Don't get me wrong, there are worse spells to be working with in here, but that doesn't mean it isn't still slow going. After going literally every single wrong way possible, I eventually find the Sand Maggot Queen and bombard her from long range. And with that, we now have the Staff of Kings. Simple enough. Diablo turns off the lights on my way to find the Claw Viper Temple. Must be trying to save money on the electric bill again. But it's not too much longer before I'm exploding my way through it. Salamanders. Why'd it have to be salamanders? Oh hey, look, I found the MacGuffin. I put all my MacGuffins into my MacGuffin and transmute them into a MacGuffin. Then make my way through the palace cellars until I find the Arcane Sanctuary. Ooh, baby, that took way longer than it should have. So many wrong turns. But hey, maybe we'll find a first way this go around. Nope. Okay, second way? Third way. Third way for sure. Oh, come on! Alright, Diablo, you've made your point. Far do the high and mighty fall. I'm sorry for being impatient. But hey, at least we got 4 ways worth of experience, so it's not a total loss. I destroy the sorcerer class from Diablo 1, who crumples even faster than the rogue did, figure out that we're looking for the Triangle Temple, and wouldn't you know it, it's literally the first temple I find. Go figure. I put my staff into the orifice, again, game's choice of words, not mine, lay down a safety teleport, then get to work killing Duriel. And it's right about here where the game decided it had enough of my garbage. All of my methods of damage require me to get off an attack, and Duriel is literally designed to limit the amount of attacks you can make. Because of the aforementioned problem of needing to stand still to throw firebombs, Duriel very quickly becomes the hardest boss in the game. There's nowhere to hide, every one of his attacks can stun or freeze you, and he hits like a brick each and every time. And because I foolishly put all my points into health and strength, rather than any amount of dexterity, I get hit by every single one of his attacks, which is super fun. Really glad I can only get off 1 or 2 attacks before I die. In reality, this is a build problem. The two skills at my disposal don't exactly lend themselves to this fight, and being the fool that I am, my stats aren't really all that beneficial either. And yes, I know about thawing potions, and tried chugging a few of those before getting into the fight, but I never noticed a discernible difference. Future Lemon here. Turns out, while chugging potions does increase your cold resistance for 30 seconds each, it probably would have been more beneficial for me to hotbar them and chug them whenever I got frozen, since it removes the freeze effect instantly. The more you know. After an embarrassing amount of deaths, I finally realized that there's no good way to win this fight. Time for the old cook and book strategy. Just run in a circle, throwing poison pots whenever you can, and little by little, Duriel's health bar will go down. It's around this point that I realized that Duriel just has to be near you to freeze you, which sucks, but what can you do? And eventually, after probably more than 25 deaths, Duriel decides that he'd rather go back to hell than deal with me again, and gives up the ghost. Victory! Sort of. It's times like these that I have to wonder if my patience is a boon or a curse. Probably both. In any case, time for Act 3. I get on the boat, enter the jungle, and immediately realize that we're somehow underleveled for this area. How? No, seriously, hold up. My Firebomb skill is maxed out at 20. We're doing between 94 and 125 damage per toss over here. And that's not enough. We can still level up the other trap skills, which will still give Firebombs a damage boost, but it's starting to look dire over here. A big problem is, unlike the Paladin, getting weapons and armor with skills that benefit the Assassin is a bit tricky. As a Paladin, the very first blacksmith will sell you weapons that give you a +3 boost to your skills. Meanwhile, the Diablo 2 community seems to agree that the best vendor to shop for Assassin skills gear is Anya. Guess where she's hiding? If you guessed the very end of the entire game, congratulations, you are absolutely correct. Please enjoy this coupon for 20% off your next bout of existential dread. Oh wait, this is expired. In all honesty, I'm guessing I missed some key point of information and was probably able to get +3 to assassin skills somewhere else. But at this point, I just kinda want this run to be over. I'm sure someone in the comments will give me that info for future reference. Anyway, what are we doing again? Oh right, finding all the MacGuffins. After forgetting how to find the second level of the sewers for longer than I care to admit, I go through the motions, collecting Kaleem's eye, brain, heart, and flail. I get rid of the High Council, who just so happen to be relatively fireproof, because of course they are, smash the compelling orb, then make my way through the Duranque of Hate, and after clearing out the area of any baddies hiding in the shadows, I begin my fight against Mephisto. Wait, did I just take 140 damage from a single attack? Yow, okay, guess we'll just have to be careful. No, that's fine, I didn't want to play anyway. Thank you, game. Yeah, it's another Duriel situation. Clearly I don't have enough resistance, because this is absolutely ridiculous. In an effort to play better, I decided to respec my character, giving myself just enough strength to use my current armor set, and then giving myself much less mana so that I could focus instead on dexterity in the hopes of increasing my survivability. Unfortunately, even with 66 points in dexterity, the chance that Mephisto will hit me is still 85%, with a block chance of about 50%. What's worse, this only applies to melee attacks. In Diablo 2, magic always hits. Granted, this goes both ways, so my firebombs are always guaranteed to hit as well. But I still don't like this system overall. It makes any class that doesn't have a magic attack completely worthless in comparison. I tried to outsmart the AI by standing up nice and close, hoping to bait mostly melee attacks from Mephisto, but it turns out that relying on a coin flip for success isn't exactly a sound strategy. And while firebombs aren't exactly good for much, they are good at one thing: range. And wouldn't you know it, the AI in Diablo 2 is not exactly good at pathing. It may not be honorable, but you can't deny the results. Time for Act 4. Almost there now. I teach the demons of hell what compressed fire looks like, then deploy my ultimate strategy on Ijwal by kiting him around a pit over and over again. Come on, buddy. Give it up. I can do this all day. Good call. Kinda wish it hadn't taken you literally almost 10 minutes to figure out you couldn't win, but hey, better late than never. Through the River of Flame and into the Chaos Sanctuary, where I finally delete all of those mages I couldn't kill with thorns, up to and including Lord Desace. Welcome to Cafe de Backlogs. Today's entree is revenge, served with a side of mediocre firebombs and a light seasoning of patience. And after dying another dozen times to the extra fast Venom Lords, I've finally arrived at Diablo. Remastered version, by the way. Weirdly, Diablo is probably the easiest of the Demon Lords I've fought so far, excluding Andariel. He hits a lot softer, is relatively easy to dodge, and if you play your cards right, you can even get him stuck on the geometry, where he's helpless to stop you from just bombing him through the walls until he dies. So yeah, that was a thing. Not exactly the bombastic ending I was expecting, but what can you do? But we're not done yet. We've got one more act to go. You'll have to forgive me if I don't really know what's going on in this act. I've literally only gotten to this part of the game once, and that was 10 years ago. From what I can tell, I'm in a city that's currently under siege from Baal. I've got a small number of friendly barbarian warriors running around helping me out, and it's up to us to weaken the siege. I destroy siege equipment around the map, encounter what are easily the most annoying enemies in the entire game, free a bunch of barbarians who are being held captive, and then get lost in an ice cave for over an hour. You know, just Diablo 2 things. Eventually, I find my way onto the Ariat Summit, where 3 angel spirits are waiting to test me before I can fight Baal. Seems kinda counterintuitive to have 3 good guys stopping me from saving the realm, but this is Diablo 2, damn it. Less talking, more loot drops. In all honesty, this fight really isn't that bad. All 3 are essentially just different barbarian builds. Madoc, the throw barb, goes down without a fight, and Talik and Korik, a leap barb and a spin to win barb, aren't exactly all that difficult either. All that dexterity is finally paying off. Sort of. Also, it turns out you can't lay down a safety portal. The whole idea of this fight is you have to kill all of them in one go. No retreating back to base for heals and potions. Kind of annoying if you die, but I can dig it. There goes 1, and there's 2, and there's 3. Oh, hey, free level. Nice. And with that, it's time to finish the run. I sprint my way through Worldstone Keep, avoiding pretty much everything if I can help it, and eventually find my way to Baal. But before we can fight him, we have to kill a few waves of minions, 1 from each act. The first wave are the little demon dudes, complete with Fire Immune Summoner. Love it. The second wave is Unravelers and Tonys. The third is a group of council members. The fourth is a group of Venom Lords. And the fifth is a group of whatever the hell these things are. Thankfully, you can actually lead each wave out of the arena. For real this time, unlike Lord Desace. Then just die, take a teleporter back, then pop back over to Baal. That's right, I cheesed your fight. What are you gonna do about it? Which brings us to Phase 2. Baal's arena is pretty big, mainly due to the fact that his attacks are all extremely large and the game wants you to be able to dodge them. But if there's one thing I've proven in this game, it's that I am absolutely terrible at bullet hells. So instead, we're gonna use this arena to break Baal's AI. Sure, he can summon tentacles, but I'd rather dodge his tentacles than deal with his magic attacks any day. Turns out dumping into dexterity wasn't a complete waste after all. It's not a super easy fight, due to Baal being able to summon a clone of himself that has all the same attacks that he does, but if you summon all of your courage and run away, you can hopefully create just enough distance to break both Baal's AIs, and then return to firebombing them from a distance. And after upwards of 10 minutes or so, it's finally over. I defeat the final prime evil, and prove that yet again, explosives are the answer to life's problems. And there you go, Diablo 2 beaten with only firebombs. That was not fun. Don't get me wrong, it was an interesting run, but compared to all the other skills that are out there, this one is definitely one of my least favorite. But with every run, I learn a little bit more about Diablo 2. Maybe next time we'll find something more fun to play around with, like a rabies werewolf, or a mercenary-only necromancer. Alternatively, Diablo 1 has literally 0 challenge runs on YouTube, and it has a spell that does thorn damage. Not saying, just saying. But regardless of what the future holds, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.